So here's the problem. The problem is that if you're paying rent, you don't own nothing. And so you pay all this money for rent every month, and at the end of the time, you have nothing to show for it except you got to live in a nice place for a little bit, you got to use the building, and that's it. It doesn't show up on your credit, you have no assets. So, if you're in a temporary situation, like a student or something, and maybe it's kind of justified, but nowadays, real estate companies are trying to take full advantage of college students. I mean, here in LA, the apartments around colleges, they're charging $1,000 a bed. It used to be the kids would rent the apartment and then they would just sort of say, well, if you want to share a room, it's this much. But now the real estate companies themselves are getting into that business because, they can basically make almost double. They can charge for a 1-bedroom what would normally they would charge for a 2-bedroom. And so I'm just saying, think about this. Like, what are you getting for this money? And, for me personally, I spent almost $70,000 in the last 2 years, 50 to 70, definitely 50 on rent situations, be it hotels, apartments, temp stays, or whatever. And I have nothing to show for it. I don't, other than a rental history, it doesn't show up on your credit. So if during that time period you mess up your credit, like you can't say, well, look, I paid $2,000 a month, $3,000 a month on my rent. It doesn't matter. And it just sucks, really. I mean, and then the same could be said for a mortgage nowadays. I mean, 2008, all these people bought all these houses and then they lost value overnight, and then they owed for houses that weren't even worth what they owed. And who won out of this deal? The banks won. Right? You're getting foreclosed. You know how many people got kicked out of their houses and now their credit's ruined and whatever, and the banks are still healthy as ever. What is a solution to this problem? So anyway, one solution is alternative living arrangements where you own something from the very beginning. So, in a city like Los Angeles where I live, it's incredibly difficult for your average person to own something. Most of the real estate is already taken up. There's hardly any space. I mean, if you want to live anywhere near the city core, then if you're renting, it's gonna cost you $2,000 just for a little cheesy 2-bedroom apartment.